Well, how's it going, everybody? I'm doing what everyone else is doing on YouTube. I'm filming a vlog today since everyone is on lockdown because of this virus. The only thing anyone can really do is do their own thing and not be around people, and so why not shoot a vlog? So I came down to the Key and I'm doing this vlog for a very, very particular reason. Actually, two reasons. Number one, I just bought an ND filter for my camera and it looks hideous because I took the advice of Potato Jet and I grabbed a ND filter that it's a little bigger and then bought a bunch of attachments because in the future when I buy other lenses I'm gonna need a bigger ND filter. So it looks hideous right now. Here, let me get my phone out because I will actually show you how absolutely hideous this looks. It's gross how massive it is on the side of my lens here. Let's see if I can, oh, there's a guy delivering something behind. Purelator's still going. So let's see if I can see the hideousness of this lens here. Yeah, there you go. Look at that. That is horrible. Look how giant it is sticking out the back, the front end of this monstrosity. It's horrible. Anyway, so I'm doing that, number one, testing this ND filter. And number two, I'm gonna try and work on my transitions because my in-camera transition stuff is hideous. It's as bad as this giant ND filter. So it's a day of hideousness and hopefully we can create something beautiful out of the whole thing, huh? You know what I mean? So let's see what happens. Thanks for stopping in, everybody. Okay, what have we learned so far? Number one, shooting with a gimbal doing this is actually extremely annoying because it doesn't do what I want it to do and I'm constantly having to grab it with my hands and manipulate it to try and get it to move in the angles that I want it to move. I'm sure it's a smoother shot, but at the end of the day, it's really annoying. So I got one of these guys here. It's just like a little extension arm. I'm gonna put this on the camera now and shoot at 60 frames per second and see if I can make things any better. Also, another thing to note is this filter that I got, because I had to put adapters on it, it's spread out so far that if I go super wide on this lens, you see the ring of the lens. This is all part of the learning process, I think. Anyway, let's rig this thing up and see what we come up with, shall we? And now to get coffee bun, if they're open, with the Munchkin. For the record, we did get coffee bun and it was open and it was delicious. And I just didn't think to put out my camera and film the moment because I was busy shoving it into my face. So there's that. Anyway, let's dive into what I learned from this video. Now that I've edited it and put things together, what did I figure out in this process? Let's talk first about the ND filters. Now, I blamed Potato Jet at the beginning of the video, but it's not really his fault. It is a fantastic idea and it totally makes sense. Instead of having to buy multiple ND filters to fit every single lens that you have, why not just buy the ND filter that matches the biggest lens you have and then buy all the adapter pieces for it so that you're able to use the same one. Great way to save money, totally makes sense. However, I would say that doesn't work when you have a wider angle lens because what I found is that when I zoomed all the way out, I was able to see all of the corners. So wicked idea. I totally understand where that came from, but for a wide angle lens, it is just not very useful. And you know, the whole ND filter thing is I'm always looking for what is the next thing I can purchase that isn't too expensive that's going to give me the best bang for my buck in terms of quality. And I thought that the ND filter would really help with my outdoor stuff. A lot of the footage that I'm doing outside in the sun, putting that ND filter on, I was hoping it would give me a not nicer bokeh effect while I was outside and just giving me a more of a shallow depth of field to get a nicer looking shot. And that's what I was hopeful for. However, I'm going to be honest with you, it really didn't help all of that much. And I think that could be because of a number of reasons. I know in the long run it will help when I have, number one, probably a better lens. The lens that I'm using right now doesn't actually have a very good shallow depth of field anyway. So it might have made a difference, but it wasn't enough of a difference to really go, wow, that really upgraded my quality. That didn't really happen. I'm using the stock lens that comes with the Canon M50 here. It's the 15-35, and I think the aperture on it goes as low as, I don't know, like 4 or something like that, maybe 3.5. Like, it doesn't go super low, so I'm not going to get that great bokeh effect anyway, and the ND filter, as a result, didn't really do a whole lot to help that. I was hoping it would. Another thing to keep in mind is how I'm shooting, the settings that I'm putting the camera in. I put my camera in the setting of making sure that it is sticking to the shutter speed. So I don't know what you call that, but it's like locked to the shutter speed. And so the camera is constantly trying to figure out moving other dials and switches and numbers and things to make sure that that shutter speed stays the same. So it could be changing the aperture at the same time, and I don't really necessarily see that as that's happening. I'm hoping that it's just changing the ISO, but it could be also changing the aperture. So again, that's going to affect that shallow depth of field. So a couple of things to play with there, but that was a bit of a journey with the ND filters, and I was a little disappointed with the results on it, but like I said, there's a lot of different factors there that could be a part of that. Now let's talk about the in-camera transitions. This was a cool little exercise. It looked a little raw. I wasn't trying to make it look, amazing or anything. It was just an opportunity to try some stuff out. And there's a couple shots that I really like, a couple things I learned. Number one, whip pans are super easy and effective to do a transition. And I found that the best whip pan that I did was the one, it was like a wider shot of the boat, and then I kind of like did a circle motion, and then I came up on the next shot of that same circle motion, but coming on the other side, and it just kind of looked like it spun, and then the boat was in a close-up. Now, it was a little bit shaky because I'm not able to use a gimbal in a shot like that, so there's a little bit of shakiness to it, and I tried to slow it down because I was shooting 60 frames a second. I tried to at least slow it down to get it a little better, but it didn't help out as much as I wanted to. But the idea of the shot of that whip pan I thought was a really cool idea, and I thought it looked pretty good for the most part. The thing with those whip pans though is you can't really use a gimbal while you're doing them. I tried to use those whip pans in some of the other shots when I was like going down and whipping up or whatever, from down to up, and that was really difficult because I actually had to hold the gimbal and push against the motors, which I don't think is a good idea to be doing with your gimbal, and it just wasn't very it was clunky. It wasn't easy, and it felt kind of awkward doing that. So the whip pans are amazingly effective. They look very, very clean. However, with a gimbal, they are a lot more uncomfortable, and it's a little bit harder to navigate them. The first shot that I did with the gimbal I thought worked amazing though, and that's the one where I was panning to the left with the gimbal, and it was a wider shot, and then as soon as I passed the pole, all of a sudden it was in a close-up of that exact same thing. That shot I really, really liked. And when I shot it, I thought I could just splice it at the pole. Like I thought I could, okay, I'm going to cross the pole, and then I'm going to edit it at around the same spot on the pole, and then that would be the next shot. But unfortunately, that didn't look very good at all. What I had to do is I had to get a little editing savvy, and I had to look up some effects. And I think it was called, I wrote it down here, the object wipe mask transition. So I'm using the object to wipe the frame, and I'm masking the other shot on the other end. So it took me a little while to figure it out. I'm going to leave in the card the video that I used to learn this. It took me a little while to figure it out. It was minorly frustrating, but at the end of the day, now that I know how to do it, it's actually quite easy to do, and that's definitely a cool thing that I want to add to my arsenal. So, that shot I thought was clean, and I like the look of it. One thing I could say is that if you're doing that and the object is round, that can be tricky because the roundness, it creates like a little bit of blur around it, and if you cut it too soon, then it just doesn't look right. Well, I think one of the other edits that I did the same thing, and I panned across like a pole, and then it was like the truck with the tire on it or whatever. You could see that the one edge of it was too straight, because you can tell the tree was not straight. You know what I mean? The tree was rounded, but it looked too straight, and so that didn't look quite as good. So that was a learning moment there, but I like the idea of that transition. I'm definitely going to use that in the future. What's another thing that I like? I also like the fill frame transition. So when I fill the frame with a specific color, this happened when I was walking down kind of a pathway, and then I panned to the left, and there was a black car there. And from that black car on the next shot, I started with something that had that same black metallic look, and I panned off of that. And when I was doing the editing, it was actually very hard to tell what was the car and what was the other black pole that I was going off of. Now, how this works is the frame actually has to be filled with that color. If you have any other sort of color on there, you're going to be able to tell in the edit, and it's not going to look very good. But if you could fill the frame with a very specific color or texture and then start with that same color or texture on the next shot, it will look quite seamless. And I thought that that shot I did there did look quite seamless, and I was able to use a gimbal for that one. And I got this idea from a video from Daniel Schiffer and one of his buddies. He was talking about it. I'm going to leave a link to that one in the card right here above. You might want to check out that video too as well. So this whole experience was definitely awesome. I feel like I have a lot more tools, and I'm excited to play with these things in the future. Thanks for checking out my video, everybody. If you have any comments or suggestions, because I'm so new into this field and I'm just trying to get better and better and better and better, if you have some good tips or advice for me, please put it in the comments below. That would be awesome and amazingly helpful. So thanks for checking out this video. I hope it was helpful for you. I'm going to see you on the next one. Thanks for checking out the Prinsloo vlog. You're welcome to subscribe if you want. It'd be good to get to know you a little better. Okay, take care. Peace.